maybe you can give me a little bit of an interview here. You're Barry Traver, and possibly you can give me a little input of what you are, what you do, who you represent, and what do you think of this fair?
Okay. I think this fair is an outstanding success. I'm glad to see that it shows continued interest in the TI-99 foray. Let's see, who am I and what do I do? I am a sysop on both CompuServe and on Genie, on the TI forum on CompuServe and on the TI roundtable on Genie. I publish a magazine on disc called The Genial Traveler. I have been a co-columnist of the TI forum column in Computer Shopper, and have also written programs that have appeared in 99er Home Computer Magazine, Smart Programmer, Super 99 Monthly, and Micropendium. I pioneered Archiver, which was later refined by Barry Boone. And I like to travel around to TI fairs in places like Chicago and elsewhere.
I know I subscribed to some of your software in 1985, 86, or 87, I know in there. And I also received a video from Lima, Ohio Fair, which you gave several seminars on different things. And one particular thing at that time that I was interested in was your statement on education for your child, for the school system, and your comments on the difference between the educational programs in the TI spectrum. Now, the question is, do you believe that you can have a too earlier start for a child on the computer?
Oh, I can't see how you have too early a start. I think in most cases, unless you're pressuring your child, I think the usual danger is not allowing him to run when he's able to run. My boy learned how to read at an early age, and he had no complaints because that meant he could get started with comic books before his friends could handle them. So rather than robbing him of his childhood, it sort of extended it, or at least began early with some of the earlier things. And right now, as a 12-year-old, he's working his way through the Xanth series by Piers Anthony, and once again, he's glad that he can do it. And the reason that one of the reasons I think that my child was able to handle things early is because he had the TI at home. He started out with Scott Forsman and worked, for example, with the Math series, is excellent on concepts, and in the Millikan series is excellent on drill. So he went into second grade and he was able to multiply a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number, divide by a single-digit number, long division, and so on, at a time where the teacher wanted to teach them addition tables. So that's one reason why right now he's being taught primarily at home, except for one day a week he has a mentally gifted class. But the computer had a lot to do with the TI in particular. You have with the Scott Forsman speech, and in any of the programs you have color graphics, you have music and sound, and sprites and auto motion. It's an ideal instrument for children to learn. The only problem I'm seeing is that when they get to be 6th, 7th, 8th graders, there isn't as much by way of material except for the Plato courseware, which I think does not take advantage of the special features. If I have a computer that can sing and dance, I want it to sing and dance and talk and do whatever else it's capable of doing. So I don't remember what I said at that fair. That's why I'm rather repeating myself now.
That's right. I was kind of trying to back it up. I talked to several other educators, and I think they share your viewpoint. The statement that you just made, that as long as you don't force a child to do it. Their conception is that if you force the child at an early age to consume this education, then when they get about 9 years old, they are so tired of being forced to learn that it kind of gets dull to them and they want to quit.
If you make it too much like school in the bad sense, but there are ways to do that. If you tell a child that he's not ready for such and such, then he's going to prove to you that he is. One thing we used to do when he was a very young child was that people, grown-ups very often, if they want to say something and not have the child in the room understand it, they'll spell it out. Well, people would do that, and we would promptly tell John Calvin what the word spelled, and he remembered. So they would later on, somebody else would spell a word and think that he didn't know it, and he'd surprise them because he did. But it was fun. It wasn't like school. It wasn't you have to learn this. It was here's something that's an awful lot of fun to do, and I bet you could do it. Or some of the time I bet you can't do it, depending on which psychology you think would be most appropriate at the time. And it's surprising what they can do, especially with what can be done on the computer.
Yeah, I got a 3-year-old great-grandchild that I started on a TI. Now, she operates anything with a disk drive that has a automatic load. Of course, she cannot go basic because at the present time she can't read, but she still types me letters on the computer. Her mother was writing the letters out, and then she was taking the letters and putting them in sentences and so on, and sending me a letter. She's very proud of this.
Right.
She learned her ABCs over a period of about 3 to 4 weeks. She's 3 years old, and she's going to go into preschool. And you know, the thing was dropped to the school people that, well, my child is 3 years old, it's on the computer. And they said, oh, take them off of the computer, because you know they know too much when they come to the school the first time.
Right. Good teachers can handle that. Unfortunately, we have some teachers that are not willing, when they should delight in the fact that they're having a child that's not a problem child in terms of not being able to do things, but one that you can let really go and learn more. But with the computer, children will surprise you. Right now, I think John Calvin, who's 12 years old, knows more about using TI Writer than his mom does, and she wrote a doctoral dissertation on it. But it's just because it's fun for him. It's not compulsory school. That's why I believe strongly in home education. Not that every child must be homeschooled in the sense of not being in a classroom, but that he should be taught at home regardless of whether he's also involved in the classroom. You see what I mean? Because children can learn a lot at home, and parents who think they can't teach have a tremendous aid with the computer. I don't have the patience to sit down and teach John Calvin how to do long multiplication, for example, but the Millikan module does. And if he makes a mistake, it says try again. If he makes another mistake, it says let me show you. Very patient, never loses its temper, and that's how he learns. Whereas I find sometimes when I try to teach him things and he's not getting it right away, then I get upset as a parent would, or probably teachers do. But the computer is super patient. It's good for gifted children. It's good for children that are slower, because if you need to slow down, the computer knows how to slow down with you. And it's good, of course, for average students in between as well.
I know I've been experimenting with video in this respect with my 3-year-old granddaughter. You know, the ABCs, where you have the speech in the computer,
right?
Speaking to her, she's really thrilled to the point that that machine is talking to her rather than me or her mother, or her mother and I. But I put this on a videotape so that she can go in at any time and put it in there, and her ABCs are there, and then I can add at the same time my voice through a mixer, or music, or background, or whatever I want. So if she gets difficulty and she don't want the computer, she can always plug that in, and there's her ABCs, and there's her graphics, and there's everything for her. I think it does a tremendous job.
Let me say one thing about that, too, because sometimes the computer is criticized for being impersonal. It can't do what a teacher can. Well, let me tell you, if you're one teacher and you have 30, 35 students in the classroom, there's no way that those students are getting personal attention. But you set a child in front of a computer, he has 100% of the computer's attention. When he taps any key, immediately the computer responds to that. So true, the computer is a machine, but there is a one-to-one relationship of sorts, even if it's between him and the person who originally wrote the program. But he is getting that immediate interaction, especially in programs that are interactive programs. There's more interaction going on than there often is between a teacher and a particular student in a classroom who may have a chance only in the entire day to ask 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah, I know they do a lot of educational therapy with the computer and LD situations and that sort of thing. So Barry, it's been good talking to you. And
good talking with you. I get nervous in front of a camera, but enjoy the conversation
I think this
anyway.
interview was very, very interesting and educational, and I hope it comes out okay. I'll talk to you later, Barry. Bye-bye.